Hello, welcome into a fresh episode of When Sarah Met Clara with me, Clara Apollo, and my lovely chi sister Sarah Chave in the house. How you
Yay.
doing?
So lovely to connect with you. And last time we met was actually in person in Spain, which was really beautiful. So we
Yeah.
had that energizing time as well.
Oh, we have. We went on such an adventure, and our other chi sister Amber was with us too. And we just were following these incredible breadcrumbs. We had a sort of idea and a thought, and we just went to this place, and then this adventure unfolded, and it was really magical. And I think it culminated on that last day when I was going. I could really do with going to bed early because we've got to get up early the next day to get the plane. And then it's like, no, let's go and do a photo shoot on the beach at midnight. It's like, yeah, let's do that instead. It was just amazing. And I do remember you and Amber doing a beautiful photo shoot. In fact, you're going to see some of the pictures of Sarah and I from that. And I was just standing with my back to the waves and just doing my chi practice deep at night, in the depth of night, and just being so grateful for that opportunity to have the ocean at my back.
And you
And
were
that's
really in the yin because you were kind
really
of
in
like
the end.
wanting to build your energy for your flight home, etc.
Exactly, and I had that opportunity. I did, but not before we hadn't played on the playground, of course, with in the Ladybird.
We're losing everyone now. We're going to
Anyway,
do
back.
holiday.
So
We'll have to do a holiday update, I think.
yeah,
So
yeah. But yeah, so what we've been going through the seasons here, haven't we? When we first started this podcast, it was in the deep midwinter, and we were talking about the water element. And then we've come up through the wood, and now because we're following the five element theory, really, that both of you have done our trainings in. Probably you slightly more than me, but it's not a competition; it's an exploration, and it is. That thing about in traditional Chinese medicine where you go around the seasons and you go from wood to fire, and I've always been really curious about this, and also about how after fire you go to earth, and then you go from earth to metal, and from metal to water. And I'm like, well, where's the air? And I remember saying to you that, where do you think the air is in Chinese medicine?
well, I would see the air in the metal. That's where I would see it. But it's a different, it's different to the four elements, that's in shamanism and stuff. So it's, I mean, the metal is kind of in the earth, really. So maybe it's not the air, maybe that's a different concept. It's
Yeah.
something that when you mentioned bringing in the air now, I was a little bit confused by it because I work with that Shen cycle, of
Yes.
moving. You look at the water feeds the wood, and this is how it happens in nature. The water will help the trees to grow. Then you put the wood on the fire, it helps the fire to grow. And then the charcoals from the fire enrich that earth. And then that, if you dig deep into the earth, you find the metal, and then it's the metal that draws the water. So it makes sense sort of
Mm.
in terms of nature. But you've got a different concept with the air, and I'm going to learn with everybody else because this is something that's really new to me.
Well, it was a question, and it was you mentioned the shamanic traditions of the fire and the water and the earth and the air, and that you could say that qigong is a shamanic practice, like a lot of the energy arts are. So when I came into the metal element when I was doing my 4 year training in London, I was really curious because as you rightly say, the areas is associated with the metal element through the lungs, but also the large intestine, and also it's that condensing energy. So when the air is like when the season has come to to the fall time, when everything is condensing to its most precious. And I kind of relate the metal element also to the crystalline essence as well, where you're coming down to the most exquisite properties. I absolutely love the metal element. It's taught me so much. But in my training, I'm like a maverick curious going, well, where's the air? And my teacher said to me, he said that, well, the air is included in metal, but it's also it's like the water. And I just nearly spat out my tea going, the air is not like the water. The air is dry and the water is wet. You know, obviously I was, but then I drilled down further into it. And it was like, well, it's this oxygen component that is held within water and held within air as well. And if you see, like, there's some fish, the way that they glide through the water, it's like their fins are like wings, just like the wings of the birds through the air. So I was getting my head around that, thinking, well, yeah, kind of. I like that. It's an interesting sort of point of view to look at. And then my teacher said to me, he said, but you know, the five element theory is only a theory,
Yeah.
which is really helpful because it helps you to look into certain aspects and it helps you to work, and it does work brilliantly. But I was still curious about the air element, so I sort of took it away.
It's a really interesting one. And what's coming to me as well is, you know, the interconnection of everything. We are everything. We are the five elements. You know, like you said, the metal element is represented in the lungs. You know, we have all those different connections within our body mind. So we are all of them. And there is going to be this dance between everything. I mean, what I've learned is that the earth takes the center point, because if you look at that in breath, you know, you have the in breath to maximum expansion, and then you have the pause, which is the earth, and then that returning. So there's always that still point that holds the middle of everything. So you could look at the earth as being between all the different elements as well, which is really, really interesting. And then a question that I asked to my teacher was, you know, because how we receive the earth element into our body is through the kidney meridian, which is through the water. You know, so then that's not in sequence either, you know, because
I would say that there's a real synergy between the earth and the water, the buoyancy of the water and the support of the earth. And the kidney meridian travels up a very similar pathway to the spleen meridian, as you know. And so I think they work in tandem. And I think when you're activating those channels, you activate them together because you want the buoyancy and you want the support. Because remember that the earth without water would just be a ball of dust.
That's
so
it. Yeah,
water is so important for us.
Yeah.
So important for us. And so that idea of having the earth at the center, which is why it confuses me in the shamanic traditions when the earth is in the north. I'm going, no, the water's in the north. Do you know looking at all these different ways of honoring the directions?
Yeah.
It seems like the south is always the sun. It's always the fire. It's like, well, at least we got that in tandem there. But to me, the earth is central. And I remember learning from an acupuncturist once that said that, you know, as I said, so between the water and the wood element doesn't suddenly just change, does it? And he's going, no, the earth element comes in at the end of each specific sequence and before the other one. So it's very much what you're saying. You return back to the earth and then you gather.
I mean, that's an interesting one as well, because the earth is meant to be the controller of the water. You know, from Chinese medicine point of view, you have the Shen Cycle, which is the nourishing cycle, and then you have the controlling cycle as well. Because if you think of the earth, you know, it's what, like you say, it's what holds the water. But then in terms of our own bodies, the earth is coming in through the water. So it's slightly different, you know, through the water meridian, through the kidney meridian. So it's slightly interesting. So it seems that there's these little things that kind of teach us to not follow the rules and to know that.
I'd not heard that before. I'd not heard that earth entered through water.
Yeah, because if you think of the kidney one points, the bubbling spring point,
bubbling
spring, the feet,
yeah,
that is how we receive the nourishment from the earth. How we get grounded is through the kidney one point, and then we bring it up through our kidney meridian into the lower back and into our kidneys. So if we want to replenish our yin, we connect into the earth. So it's
such a good practice. That's such a good one. But for me, the synergy between the water and the earth is what I really love, because you're also bringing, Yongguan, you're bringing it up through bubbling spring, but also you've got the spleen meridian coming up the inside of the legs as well from the big toe. So you've got a combination. And I think
Yes.
what you said, we are a combination of it all, and we just split it into different areas so we can study it.
So
But
we can
actually, it's
understand
the
it. Yeah.
harmonization of it all. But the thing that I work with now is a 6 element theory.
Okay.
So I was looking at the this transition between wood and fire. I just wasn't completely 100% with it. I get that the wood is the body of the fire, but the fire is not going to work unless there is some air. And so I bring the air in between wood and fire. And so we get into some Qigong breath work, which is beautiful. And then we can also revisit it in the autumn when we've already done some work on the air element in the early summer, and then we can revisit it and build on it in the autumn and have a different quality, with the air being very expansive, coming into the supporting the fire that is going to be rising and raising, and then that quality of the air when it's condensing and falling down. So that made sense to me, and I thought, well, dare I play with this? It's like, well, it's your own. Maybe there are other people who've got a similar theory, but I found it really
Love
rang
to
true for
hear. I'd
me.
love to hear if there's
Yeah.
anyone that knows, more about the Qigong practices or the Chinese method. I'd love your comments,
Yeah.
because this is very much an open discussion where we're figuring it out as well.
We totally are, but I don't know about you, but I get hay fever, and that I'm always both fascinated by pollen and also perturbed by it. But that idea that the air can carry these particles of potential that are to do with, seeding next generations or something, I really value that time to be able to look at the air element from that perspective, and link it to the lungs, of course, and that connectivity that we all have. We all breathe the same air. The air, it connects us all. It doesn't mind whose lungs it goes into. And I think this was really heightened when we were all being encouraged to stay away from each other. We have to be aware of the air that we're in, and therefore when we're near the forest or the sea, we're in the healthiest air. And because of the upsurge of breathwork practice now as well, I think to bring the air element into the Qigong arena as a direct element gives us more time to explore it. Simple as that, really.
Beautiful. And you wanted to do a little practice today, Clara, as well.
Yeah, I did. So with everything that's going on, okay, this word busy, we've got to find a different word for it. Multi-occupied, whatever. I've decided I'm not going to multitask anymore, Sarah. I'm just not going to do it to my system. And, the mind loves loads of things to cogitate about. But with so many shifts and changes going on, dropping into our breath is such a gift. It brings us into the now moment, as I know a lot of you know. But it can also bring us into a place where we can soothe and calm the nervous system, something that we have spoken about before and will continue to speak about. Because when we're able to soothe our nervous system, we come into more restfulness. And the other piece I want to add here is this coming out of busy beta brain rhythm into alpha, but then getting into practices that bring you into theta, because the theta brainwave is where you make the changes, where you can make really powerful changes in your psyche when you can access that. So I was doing my practice with my teacher a few weeks ago, and he was reminding me of this Buddhist breathing technique that I learned years ago, and I'd kind of forgotten it. And it's like, why did I forget that? Because it's so simple. And it's like, oh, why don't we bring back some simple practices, because then we'll remember them, and also we're more likely to do them. And so it's just Qigong used to be, well, an aspect of Qigong is breath work, and you could I think if we discussed this before, the Qi can also be referred to as the breath, and Gung means work, but pranayama, it's all really interesting stuff, how we use our breath. But with Qigong, we're always following the breath. We're not directing it in any particular way. We follow it, and it works with us, with the rhythm of our movements. And our intention can guide its energy through our bodies. And so with this practice, You can do it sitting or standing, as we're sitting here right now. Another aspect of the air element is we wouldn't be able to hear anything if it wasn't for the air. So let us just settle in with this heart resonance bowl. And just softly dropping into the natural rhythm of your breath. Watching the air gliding in and out of your body. And notice with each out breath, you surrender a little bit more down into the chair, down into the floor. And feeling the strength and support of your spine as it lengthens, shoulder relaxes, neck lengthens, jaw relaxes. And also include in that relaxing your belly. And for this particular approach, we're going to have the tongue just resting on the bottom of the mouth. It doesn't need to do its connecting the channels, tip of the tongue. So it just rests in the bottom of the mouth. And you're breathing in through your nose, so just receiving the air through your nose. And as you breathe out, just open your mouth slightly and let the air fall out of your mouth. And then you close your mouth and breathe in again. And open it and let the air fall out of your mouth. This is suggested that you do this 9 times. And I will often bring this breathing approach into when I'm standing like a tree, or holding the staff, or holding the chi ball. And you can use it wherever you want to access stillness and presence. And you may notice that the rhythm of your breath gets slower and slower. Maybe it doesn't, but if it does, just allow yourself to pause at the end of the out breath, really sinking deeper into the earth, into the support of the earth and the water. And being the receiver for the breath, you feel as if you're being breathed by the air. And just while you're in that quiet state, I'll play for you a little bit of air element Koshi bell. And when you're ready with your next out breath, giving thanks for what you have experienced. And I thank you for being here with us. And we'd love to know how that landed for you. Just drop us a comment if you wish. Maybe now, maybe later. And tell your friends. We're here to share these simple, effective practices with as many people as possible, because then it'll help. It will help us all to maintain our center, maintain our clarity, maintain our connections to the truth of who we are. And that we're all here together as a team, stepping forward and visioning in the new earth. So thank you. Thank you, Sarah, as well. Anything you'd like to add?
Thank you so much, Clara. That's a beautiful practice.
Thank you. We're all zenned out now.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you in the next episode.
Yeah.